Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome in to the latest edition of Tider Insider Television alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Let's jump right in. Alabama closing out its non-conference portion of the schedule this past Saturday in dominating fashion. Alabama hosting Mercer from the Southern Conference, that's FCS. But the Bears came in at 9-1 on the season, and last week we shared with you some concern that, would Alabama get themselves ready to go in this game? Well, they did. They took care of business early and often in this one. Mercer's one touchdown, you have to give them credit, was an incredible catch by their wide receiver. But Ryan Williams scored two quick early TDs, and Alabama really was never headed in this one. They piled up 508 total yards on the way to 52 points. 52-7 was the final. Jalen Milroe was efficient at quarterback, went 11 of 16 for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air and scored 1 on the ground. And the defense forced 2 more turnovers in the first half alone. Quay Rusaw's interception set up a scoring drive capped by a Robbie Oots 44-yard touchdown catch. Good to see Robbie, such a hard worker, get a payoff there with a touchdown reception. Xavier Brown took a fumble, 68 yards to the house to make it 28-0. As we said, Mercer finally scored on a great touchdown catch to make it 28-7. It was 31-7 at the break. Alabama, Rodney, the good news in the second half was the fact that Milroe was able to get out of there after about 3.5 quarters. Ty Simpson, Dylan Lonergan, and Austin Mack all played some good snaps. Mack, in fact, threw a touchdown to freshman Rico Scott. Let me bring you in here. Just for this type of game, I thought it went about as well as it could for Alabama, really in every area. No injuries, a lot of people played, got it over with early. Just a real productive game now as you get ready for this stretch run in conference play.
Yeah, I think so. I think, we talked about last week, would Alabama play to the opponent or would they play to the standard? I think they played a lot closer to the standard than they did the opponent. I mean, they took care of business. It was 31-7 at halftime, 52-7 final, but you look at, you mentioned some of the stats, Gary. Alabama has outscored the last 3 opponents 128-20.
That's domination.
Last 3 games, they've turned the ball over, or defensively, they've created 9 turnovers. They have not turned the ball over. So what are they doing? They're playing clean football. That's what we talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks. If Alabama could clean it up, they'd be a lot better. That's what we've seen the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and Kalen DeBoer already reaches 8 wins as a first-year head coach at Alabama, so that's noteworthy as well, and he's still got several games to coach. Yeah, you mentioned some of the stats. 128-20 in the last 3 games, really impressive. 189 more rushing yards on Saturday. They're averaging, Rodney, 257 yards in this 3-game streak. And, again, if Alabama can run the football, we know how it opens up everything else on that offense.
Yeah, I mean, look, it certainly makes the quarterback's job a lot easier. I think it makes the offense in general more unpredictable in the things that they can do. Again, I think it opens up a lot of different opportunities that they have, whether it's, you mentioned the running game, Milroe keeping the ball, running the ball, but also distributing the ball to those receivers. You saw Ryan Williams on the little end around, just different things to get the ball in the hands of some of these other guys and get the playmakers going. If they do, Gary, I mean, Alabama, as you start to look at it, be very difficult to defend.
And defensively, you already alluded to it, fast and aggressive, forcing turnovers, getting after the quarterback. Now listen, this team has been, for the most part, good on defense all year. But there have been letdowns in games where they couldn't get off the field on 3rd down or they gave up 4th down conversions. But they have really come into their own as well. It's just the right time for Alabama under a first-year coaching staff to kind of be hitting their peak. And when you talk about this defense, you're talking about a defense that's not sitting back on their heels. They're making stuff happen.
Yeah, and I think they've been a lot more aggressive, too, the last few weeks, it seems. And there he is, Jihad Campbell. That's one of the reasons. I mean, you hated to lose Q Robinson, but to be able to put him on the edge, put Justin Jefferson in with Deontay Lawson. We talked about that last week here on the show. Watch for Jihad Campbell to maybe move outside some pass rushing situations. Quay Rusaw played a really good game, too, as well. Johannes Pierre got in the game. So you got a lot of young players at that position, but Jihad Campbell had a big game.
And let's get back to the offense from the standpoint of the quarterbacks. We've been wanting to see the backup quarterbacks, particularly Ty Simpson, the number 2 quarterback, but we got to see them all. And I thought, again, you're playing Mercer, I thought they all looked good.
Yeah, and the opportunities they had. Again, you have to remember, too, there's the Austin Mack touchdown. What a catch by Rico Scott, the true freshman out of Pennsylvania. We hear about Ryan Williams. They got some other freshman receivers that are pretty good too. But yeah, I agree with you, Gary. I thought Ty Simpson made some plays, and again, it's difficult. Sometimes you're working with backup offensive linemen. You're working with some freshman receivers. The rhythm's not really there. But I thought all of them. Dylan Monaghan too. He converted several third downs, a fourth down. There you see the throw to Josh Cuevas from Ty Simpson that set up a touchdown. Yeah,
very good job by all of the quarterbacks. All right, Rodney, let's change gears here because it's now time for Coach Talk. Alabama travels to Norman, Oklahoma this Saturday evening. Kickoff is set for 6:30 on ABC. Now, the Sooners have won 82% of their games all time at Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium, which is an impressive record, much like Alabama's at Bryant-Denny. That stadium's over 100 years old, so they don't lose there often. Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer knows that his team is going to have to be ready for the Sooners and also for the noise because that fan base is going to be ready to go on Saturday night.
What it takes and the preparation and a lot of it's the offensive side of the ball, making sure just with the noise that your process is good and your procedures are good with just getting calls made and all that kind of stuff. So it was only a week ago or so that we were in that environment, and we'll be preparing again to get ready for what's going to be a great atmosphere there in Oklahoma.
All right, Rod, Oklahoma's 1-5 in the SEC, which is kind of shocking if you think about it. The only win was at Auburn. But still, this is a quality football program, and they've got good players, and they're going to be jacked up. This is a chance for them to make their season. This is not a layup by any means for Alabama.
Well, like you said, Gary, I mean, look, they've got as proud of a history. I mean, they won a lot of national championships. They were one of the dominant teams in the 70s, and they great in the 80s, 90s. They've had a lot of success. Bob Stoops had a lot of success in the early 2000s. So Alabama goes there in 2002. You remember that game?
Very well.
That's a great game. But, Oklahoma wins that game. Oklahoma wins the next year here in Tuscaloosa. But Alabama got them in the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago, back in 2000. What was it, Gary? 18 after the 18 season in the playoffs. So, they've had a great rivalry. They really have.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And, again, they're downtrodden a little bit right now. They're beat down. They haven't had the kind of season. They've had a bye week.
Yeah.
They've had a lot to think about over this last week. So they're a team that I think will be prepared.
Yeah, this rivalry goes all the way back to Coach Bryant and Bud Wilkinson. Yeah. In fact, some great games. And I'll remember, of course, you got them, as you mentioned, the playoff, Alabama got them back in 18, but that Sugar Bowl, after the kick six game, Oklahoma beat Alabama. Yeah. Alabama was a pretty big favorite in that game, so should be a great ball game. Let's talk more about what the Tide needs to do just in terms of dealing with Oklahoma defense. Let's start there because offensively, we'll get to it in a minute. They've had some issues. Defensively, they're good. Oklahoma's good.
Yeah, well, they've got a really good defensive coach. Brent Venables has done a fantastic job. We know what he did at Clemson. Alabama faced Clemson a few times, and but he's done a tremendous job there in terms of the defense. They're really strong, Gary, against the run. They may be a little weaker against the pass. I know that they give up well over 200 yards in the pass game, but again, I think defensively, that's kept them in some of these games. Yeah. They beat Auburn because of defense down there.
When I say they're good, I think their stats are not reflective of their defense because their offense has put so much pressure on their defense. You know what I mean?
Good point. I mean, great point. They've struggled at quarterback a little bit. Although Jackson Arnold now he's coming. He's really a talented guy. He really is.
All right, so they're back to Jackson Arnold. They started the season with him. Then they went to the freshman Michael Hawkins. Now they're back to Jackson Arnold. And this is a guy that they really wanted to keep. I mean, they let Gabriel, their quarterback, go to Oregon. You know what he's doing. So they believe in this guy, and he is starting to kind of find a little rhythm.
He was the #1 high school quarterback in the country, according to some, when he came out a couple of years ago. A guy, you see, he can move around. Gary's ran for over 400-something yards. Now, with the sacks, it brings that down a little bit, but he's more athletic than people think. He's a great high school passer. They've had some injuries. They've had some injuries on the offensive line. They've had some injuries at wide receiver. Wow. Things have happened. What they were missing 5 guys at wide receiver when they went to Auburn and still won the game. So, but like you said at the very outset, that don't be mistaken. Oklahoma's a talented team. They may not have played well, but they are talented.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is the game that ABC chose for prime time. They could have had Ole Miss in Florida. Yeah. And instead they put that one at 11 a.m. So it shows you that these two football powerhouses they believe will bring in some viewers. All right, let's talk about some other news. We'll have our predictions, score predictions later on. Alabama outside linebacker Keanu Coote announced that he'll be entering the transfer portal today. He expressed his thanks in a social media post, saying he was very thankful for everyone who played a part in his journey at Alabama. Remember, he was a redshirt junior, so this was his 4th year here, Rodney. 5 tackles, a half a sack, 2 tackles for loss in 7 games this season. He did not play in the Mercer or LSU wins. He was suspended. We didn't know when that suspension would end. This is one of those guys that I've always looked at and thought the physical tools are there. For whatever reasons, it just didn't happen for him.
You know, yeah, he was originally out of the state of Florida, committed to LSU. You remember he flipped to Alabama on signing day that year, and everyone was really excited, expected him to be a great pass rusher. He endured some injuries. He had a lot of injuries when he was here. I think kind of slowed him down in terms of getting bigger and stronger initially. So, you know, again, one good thing is, Gary, they have a lot of young talent in that room.
That's right.
They have a lot of young talent. So good luck to him wherever he goes.
That's for sure. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, after losing 3 players that flipped to other schools, Alabama flips a prospect from another school yesterday. That helps a lot. It's a position of need. And Alabama men's basketball already looking to regroup. Number 2 in the country. Didn't matter to Purdue on Friday night in West Lafayette. They took care of the Tide. Now Alabama gets ready to play another Big Ten team tomorrow night in Birmingham after dropping to number 8 in the AP poll. We'll have that for you. And a little bit later on, we'll be getting to the phone calls, the tweets, and the emails. Phone number is always 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or you can email us at the address on your screen, TITV@WVUA23.com. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return after this timeout. And welcome back to TITV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Go to visittuscaloosa.com. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Well, after 3 ESPN top 300 commits flipped from Alabama to other schools last week, Monday evening it was Kalen DeBoer's staff that did the flipping. Alabama football gets 4-star defensive back recruit Ivan Taylor, who was committed to Michigan. He is out of Winter Garden, Florida. He is a safety, which is a position of need, and he is a guy that is rated as high as 2 in the country by some services at the safety position. His dad, Ike, was a 2-time Super Bowl champion at cornerback in the NFL. So this is great news, Rodney, for a couple reasons. Like I said, position of need. And after you lose 3 highly touted recruits to other schools, it's nice to pick one up. Yeah,
I really liked Ivan Taylor coming out of high school this summer before he's going into his senior year at Winter Garden down there at West Orange High School. You know, Gary, he was committed to Notre Dame. He flipped this summer. I thought he might flip to Alabama, and then it ended up he went to Michigan, and now he flips to Alabama finally. I think that's it for him. But, yeah, he's a tremendous player. Like you said, number 2 rated safety in the country according to 247. This is a really big pickup for Alabama at a position of need.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, recruiting ranking-wise, Alabama took a hit, losing those 3 top 300 recruits. They went from 1 to 5 in the latest rankings. But again, Rodney, it's always been fluid, but now more than ever, it's just hard to gauge these classes with all of the stuff going on with NIL and then even once you sign them. So I think you just have to trust that this coaching staff is going to recruit well, because I believe they are.
Yeah, somebody sent me a message today. Are you concerned about recruiting? They have the number 3 class in America. I mean, you have 3 or 4 of the top 20 players in the country committed. The key right now is holding on to them till the signing
like
day.
Michael Carroll. For sure, the offensive tackle. All right, let's get to hoops. Alabama suffered a setback this past Friday night at the hands of the Purdue Boilermakers up in West Lafayette, Indiana, 87-78 at Mackey Arena. Crimson Tide had a 6-point lead about midway through the second half, but give Purdue credit, man. That's a good basketball team. Matt Painter's a great coach. The place was packed out. When you're number 2 in the country, you're going to get everybody's best shot, and Purdue's won 39 straight non-conference games, so they don't lose very often to teams outside the Big Ten. Alabama, falls to 3-1, and it's not been a great start for a team that was 2 in the country. And then you can't worry about it. Tomorrow night, Rodney, you get Illinois over in Birmingham in the CM Newton Classic. But 4 games in, Alabama, other than the opener, has not been a dominant team. Are you concerned?
Not really. I mean, it's really early in the year. I mean, they're extremely talented. I think the thing is, it's like you kind of touched on, Gary, you got to find that chemistry. Early in the year, I know that you watch some of Nate Oates' teams. they really kind of start to peak later in the year.
Yeah, built for March, but need to get that win tomorrow night over in Birmingham against Illinois. That would be a nice win as well. All right, let's get to Alabama women. They are undefeated. They are really playing well. They played 4 games in 7 days. That's a tough stretch and won them all. The latest win was a 23-point road win at the University of Louisiana Monroe on Sunday. So the Crimson Tide is moving on up in the polls. They're up to number 21 in the USA Today coaches poll. Sarah Ashley Barker is a star. She is a National Player of the Year candidate in my mind. They've got some good parts around her. They've built some depth and some athleticism. They're off now for a week until they go to the Emerald Coast Classic on November 25th and 26th. But, Rodney, this is a team that I don't think it's, you're just saying to yourself, let's just get in the tournament. You're saying to yourself, let's get in the tournament. Let's win a couple. Let's make a Sweet 16 run or beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like right now, the way they've started out, Gary, this is a team that maybe people thought was good, but maybe better than what we knew.
Yeah, got some talent. Good job by Christy Curry kind of getting to this point. All right, still to come on TITV, Week 11 of Bama in the NFL. And, boy, it's always exciting, isn't it? Plus, we'll be answering your phone calls and emails. In fact, phone lines, I'm told, are open, which I'm surprised at. Now that we're back on all the satellite systems and all the cable systems, we want to hear from you. 205-348-9882. Go ahead and give us a call because the lines are open. We've got phone calls. We've got emails to come right here on Tider Insider TV. Week 11, Bama in the NFL. I've had some people tell me, Rodney, get more guys in. Well, we got a limited amount of time. I wish we could show them all. But how about Jerry Jeudy right there? 89 yards from Jameis Winston. And the Browns lost to the Saints, but his best game of his one of the best games of his career, 142 yards on receptions, and including that touchdown right there on 6 catches. Bears and the Packers, Josh Jacobs scored his 50th career TD, and he can rack them up. And the Bears got the win. The Packers got the win. They blocked the Bears' field goal attempt on the final play of the game, 20-19. Jamison Williams, man, Rodney, his last 7 touchdown catches are all more than 30 yards. You talked about explosive. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs doing his thing. And look at, watch it right here. That's the Marshawn Lynch. He's athletic. And Tua is back and played beautifully since coming back from the concussion. Dolphins got a win over the Raiders, 34-19. And right here, Jonnu Smith, the tight end, was out to practice early, as Coach Bryant used to say. But that's just a sampling of Bama in the NFL. Okay, welcome back in. Want to remind you, phone lines are still open. I'm not kidding you. 205-348-9882 if you want to give us a call. But this gives us an opportunity to get to our email question of the day, brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. When it comes to heating and air conditioning, KDM Service Corporation serving your family like our family. What would have to happen for Bama to get in the SEC title game? That's from Dennis in Tuscaloosa. Rodney, really not that much. Bama needs to win its last 2 games. First of all, you need to beat Oklahoma, you need to beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl. From what I understand, it looks like there's going to be a bunch of 2-loss teams, so head-to-head won't matter. It'll go to a formula for highest win percentage of your opponents. From what I understand, if Missouri wins one of its last 2 against Mississippi State and Arkansas, and Alabama wins its last 2, the Tide looks good to get to Atlanta.
That's the way it looks right now. Pretty good chance. Again, I say pretty good chance. Alabama certainly has to take care of business.
And a lot of debate about that. Fans said, I don't want to go. Let me tell you something. Players want to go. I know how this is SEC dominant school. They want to go play for another SEC championship, win it, and then get that top 4 seed in the college football playoff. All right, phone lines are open, so give us a call. And also still to come on TITV. More of those phone calls, as we said, 205-348-9882. We want to hear from you. Phone lines are open, and I want to hear some callers tonight here on the program. So we'll be right back with more on TITV right after this. The Alabama men's and women's cross-country teams are running with a head of steam into this week's NCAA Championships. The men and women qualified for the NCAA meet by taking first place at the South Regional Championship. On the men's side, the Crimson Tide had the top 3 finishes: Dismas Lakaira, Victor Kyprop, and Dennis Caputo. On the women's side, Alabama's Doris Lemingole finished second, just a fraction of a second behind Florida's Hilda Olamoimoy. It was a rematch of their great battle at the SEC Track and Field Championships last June. The Crimson Tide had 4 runners in the top 20 and were the only team to do that. The NCAA Cross Country Championships are Friday morning at the Thomas Zimmer Championship Course in Madison, Wisconsin. Roll Tide. All right, welcome back into TITV. We got a phone call to get to. It's our buddy CB right here in T-Town. Hey, CB.
Hey, buddy, how y'all getting along? How's all y'all's health? Pretty good?
Doing great, my friend.
That's good. We hanging in there.
Yes, sir.
That transfer portal, we ain't lost that many this time. Or will it get worse, or will they get it straightened out, Rick?
Well, CB, I think every school is going to lose some players after every season. That's just the way that's going to be. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem to be like there's a mass exodus or anything like that coming, but I'm sure there are going to be some players that leave, Rodney. That's just going to be the case again with the rules the way they are. I hate to say it encourages players to leave, but it encourages players to leave.
Well, and every school is going to have these issues. I mean, we saw it last year, and I know Alabama fans kind of respond to it in a panic way, but Gary, don't be surprised. Yeah, there's going to be some guys. Here's the thing, though, Gary, the timing of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it opens up, early December?
Yeah, you got signing day, you got playoffs.
You've got a lot going on.
Again, we keep saying something needs to be done in terms of rules for the NIL and for the portal. Maybe something's coming down the pike. All right, let's get to one more email real quick, Rodney. This is from Jamie in Haleyville. Has defensive back Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. played any this year?
Yes, he has played some. Not a lot, but he has played some. I've seen him out there, number 21, wearing the same number as his dad.
That's right.
So, maybe in the future we'll see a lot more
still
of
a young guy. All right, still to come on TITV. Thanks for the phone calls and emails. What do we got coming up? Well, it's going to be prediction time. When we come back, what do Rodney and I think about the game against the Sooners in Norman on Saturday night? You'll find out next. And welcome back to TITV. It's prediction time for the Tide and the Sooners. Rodney, you lead us off.
Well, I said earlier, Gary, that Alabama's been playing their cleanest football of the year. The last 3 games, last 12 quarters. I think that continues. And that's really what Alabama has to do to win this game. Play clean. I've got it 27-13.
I'm going to go right along with you, Rod. I think that Alabama's playing its best football. And I think that the Sooners are going to play hard. I think they're going to have an electric atmosphere. I just think Alabama's better. And Oklahoma's still challenged on offense. I think over 4 quarters, Alabama wears down Oklahoma and winds up winning this thing fairly comfortably. I've got it 31-10, the final score out in Norman. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of TITV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. As always, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you a video from former Bama basketballer Keon Ellis. Bama in the NBA. He lit it up last night, folks, for the Kings. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and a block. He went 9 of 15 from beyond the arc. That's 60%. That is a great game. Unfortunately, the Kings lost to the Hawks in a heartbreaker, 109-108. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week on TITV.
He had a total of 30